Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Azakai. I'm bringing to you another video. I'm bringing you another video for Conqueror's Blade, published by Porus Interactive. This is going to be a PTR update. So we're going to get apparently another round of leadership adjustment. This time for mostly tier 2 units. Now, you probably noticed that there is a double up on Demez Spearman. The second line is apparently supposed to be the Javelin Militia. So there's that. I don't disagree. I don't agree with some of these changes. I definitely think that I definitely think that they they're overtuned a couple of units, all the ones that I think. Generally, I disagree with the leadership choice. It's not truly indicative of performance. It's definitely a lot to ask them to kind of balance properly, but I don't in the first place I don't consider leadership to be a true proper way to balance the game. It's much more easier if you standardize your approach and have leadership be or I think having leadership being set standards for unit tiers or based on like unit categories would go a long way in stabilizing kind of the setup. If you had standard leadership for tier 2, 3, 4, 5, you would also stabilize a very easy um, swap in and out warband. Right now, with all of these differing amounts, you're honestly pigeonholing yourself into a set selection or a set number of warbands that is less than ideal, I think. Personally, I feel like the more options you have, the more flexibility the warband can be, but the warband itself is a predetermined set of units, so there's only so many combinations you can have, especially once you start factoring in certain units, especially those of high performance. Um, Once those are selected, the rest of your units or kind of your selection of units just diminish greatly. And again, um, I don't think this round of leadership adjustment is indicative of the strength of the units, inclusive of their masteries. Particularly Demez Spearmen, absolute no. They probably shouldn't have been touched. Ironcap Swordsman, maybe. I think Ironcap Swordsman could go both ways. The problem is that with doctrines, they're really strong. Like, really strong. But at the same time, it's just like, there's a fluctuation. You don't have doctrines, they go really, really bad. The Stamina 5 doctrine that adds a target is pretty much the break point. It's literally night and day if you have it or if you don't. So, um, oh, and one other thing. Absolutely do not understand how Pike Militia is rated higher than Demez Spearman. I think that's stupid. I think they've set this as I think they've reduced a lot of these things by a set amount, uh, and and don't honestly kind of factor in the actual usage rate of these units. It's kind of sad, or maybe I'm just overthinking it. But a lot of these changes will do little to actually change the current game flow of the game. We are set really, really high with tier 5s, being somewhat around 300, and now our tier ones and stuff are pushing down to 40, as you can see on a couple of units. This actually kind of cross over with like the tier zeros, but the tier zeros and the tier ones are kind of being smashed together now. So that's annoying. Not that the tier zeros really had their own categories. It's just the surf units that never really had any abilities. They had weaker stats, but yeah. So yeah, um, again, highly disagree with all of this nonsense with leadership adjustment. There will never be a real solution found with just leadership adjustment because units' power vary so wildly against each other and in isolation. It's it's really tough, I would say. The only thing that I could say is range units are so relatively weak on the health scale that you could possibly do a measure of damage versus range or damage multiplied by range and accuracy that you could get a precise leadership value, but it doesn't look like they're doing that. Again, it's difficult to kind of just use leadership. You will also need in-game data and stuff. And I do believe that they have something that they are extrapolating from. I just don't think that it's correlating correctly because it's definitely not recording data correctly, or um it's it just seems really bad and not and it doesn't it's essentially like what I'm seeing for the leadership adjustments is not what I expected. It is not what I think should have happened either. So, um, if you want to read it, I'm not going to read it out. So, on to the actual balance adjustment. So we have 6 balance adjustments. We have Iron Cap Swordsman, Iron Cap Charge, armor piercing coefficient goes from 100% to 150%. Base block breaking effect goes from 100 to 300. Do note that a lot of shield charges actually has an instant break effect. So I'm not sure exactly how powerful a change this is going to be on a large scale. I definitely do think it's going to have an effect. The instant block break is not guaranteed, which is the important part. Um, Still, big increase, honestly. The base block breaking effect only being 100 is stupidly low, considering how much damage is being blocked with just 100 block. Do note that like a lot of shield units start off at 400 and go all the way up to about 1,000, roughly around about 1,000. Um, Iron Cap Scouts, I would think probably in the 3,000 range. That is very significant amount of damage being blocked. So it will it will make Iron Cap Swordsman probably too good against shields, but that's again, this is the balance adjustment. I don't particularly agree on a lot of things, but you need a fix block in the first place before like block breaking kind of can be fixed as well. Squires. During Shield Rush and Sprint Strike, armor piercing coefficient goes from 125% to 200. Damage coefficient is going from 100 to 200%. After Shield Rush and Sprint Strike ends, armor piercing of the follow-up attack goes from 100% to 200%. Attack interval reduced by 20%. Huge, huge, huge buff for Squires. Probably, probably what they needed. I think this is more problematic because the if coefficient is going up by 100%, so they're doubling the damage, which could theoretically be doubled again by stamina, um, by the stamina 5 plus 1 target. This is more, this is going to cause a knock-on effect. So I think Squires, I definitely do think Squires, depending on how strong 100 doubling the damage is going to be, you could expect these guys to kind of match the strength of condottieri or prefecture guards if we if how things work out is as I expected, but we'll see. Um, you'll you will still require doctrines, so um, I'm kind of sad. I don't like I don't like using doctrines as a way of balancing things. I really much like I really much like balance on the basis of their base performance because doctrines is a really cool concept. It's not very fair though. Um, so yeah, Squire's massive buff. Prefecture guards get a tiny teeny buff. Um, 3% increase, like 200, like two 200 and like 30, no 200 and like and 23, 220, no 233 base health increase. That's gonna net you like nothing basically. It's like a 2% increase. They have like base 10,000 health. Base slashing armor penetration going up by 110. 8% increase, probably. I think it's about 8% increase. Um, it's it's a small minor thing. Armor penetration again on average in the tier 3 zone are really very minor effect. You'll probably see roughly an 8% increase in damage in this case. So it's more like going to help them against higher armor targets, so against tier 4s and stuff. The base slashing damage goes from 1332 to 1485. A good 153, pretty much a 11% increase, so that's a good amount. Whether or not it's is going to be significant enough for to change something is highly unlikely, but um oh, I'm wondering whether or not they are trying to have prefecture guards relative to condos. I know that condos have a higher leadership cost than prefecture guards now. It's a bit tough to say whether or not prefecture guards are weak, weaker than condottieri, but this should bring them closer together at the very least. Rattan Round Shield and Rattan Pikeman. Weapon poison spread radius goes from 3 meters to 4 meters. Spread effect base bleed damage per second goes from 100 to 250. It's, I'll be honest, you can stack the poison weapons mastery, this weapon poison, um, with the rattan poison, and this also increases their natural. It's honestly, I really hate I really hate a lot of these additional effects, especially with the poison stuff. They they are realistically better the longer the fight goes on because they're a set amount. You need to apply it. So it's understandable why they increase it. It's just really bad that they have increased it because if the game pace changes, this effect will be really 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 bad, really 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 powerful the longer battle goes on. So speed is I don't like the current speed of ZB. It's too fast for my liking. I much prefer a much more slower and more spread out kind of fighting or like longer duration fighting. Obviously, I don't want to fight for like minutes on end, but I want to at least spend a little bit time fighting instead of running around. I mean, we run around more than anything, and the battles is just so so minuscule in comparison to us like setting up stuff. So yeah. Javelin Militia charge cooldown goes from 35 seconds to 20 seconds. My goodness, a huge 15 seconds off of charge cooldown. Charge Javelin armor piercing coefficient goes from 200 to 250. Damage coefficient goes from 200 to 250. So a big increase on both. I think Javelin Militia still needs a buff towards their basic attacks. Um, there's something wrong with a lot of the like nodes and stuff. Their basic attack is definitely not indicative of like all of their bonuses they get from the unit tree. They deal like 800 damage, by the way. So not that anyone would ever use them in basic attack and use only their basic attack. I just think it would be nice to kind of like get a even spread. I think the reliance on the javelins is a bit much, considering this is also a charge. You would expect that the javelins into the charge would be really powerful. Unfortunately, you will only throw the javelins and just skip the charge hitting all the time. There's like no reason to ever let the melee attack of the charge hit, even though it deals like twice the amount of damage. You're doing like 1600 damage. The javelin probably is going to hit. Oh man, it's been a really long time actually since I used javelin militia, but like you're probably going to hit high to you're going to hit into the 2000, probably mid 2000. So like early or mid 2000, I think. Prefecture Pikeman, base piercing damage going from 1147 to 1264. So only a increase of 117. Not particularly a lot, but around about a 10% increase. Last stand piercing damage bonus goes from 300 to 500. Um, Super increase to that buff, I would say. No way out piercing damage and all defense bonuses 300 to 500. I'm confused about that one. Is it last stand and no way out? Just give me 2 seconds. I actually want to take a look at the mastery for Prefecture Pikeman because that seems weird. If it includes the piercing damage and the all defense bonus, both, that's telling me that they get a thousand piercing damage as some kind of bonus effect, which doesn't seem right. It seems crazy. The all defense, like big increase on defense, man. They'll probably go from like having only like 300 armor to 800 armor. That's like equivalent to like high end tier 4. high-end tier 4 armor. They're basically a match for like Imperial spears and stuff. If last stand is active when push. Okay, so it is last stand can be activated while using push pike immunity control grants piercing damage boost of 300 for 3 seconds. If last stand is active when push pike hits a target, piercing damage and all types of defense will be increased by 300 points for 6 seconds. Okay, okay. The duration is very short. The time of overlap is literally only 50%. In ideally, but it's going to be very, very impossible to get that. But um, yeah, pretty pretty significant increase, I would say. Prefecture Pikemen are like the last buff they got with a +1. They really only struggle against dealing with block, and personally, I feel like their charge should deal more block break damage. Their follow-up deals an insane amount of block break damage, but I feel like it's not very nice to use because you expect the charge to be your main source of damage when realistically it's actually the follow-up attack, which was touted as supposed to be 3 attacks, but it's actually just one huge sweep, I think. Or maybe it's 3 sweep, I'm not sure. But just putting it out there, Prefecture Pikeman, it's a significant increase, but um I think how the unit is used is um especially against like shield units and stuff. I think it's not going to be good enough. And I hate saying this, but like you really need to kind of standardize your performance of your units because this is a lot of issues. A lot of issues is presented because of the counter logic. They they've obviously they've obviously rely on the unit's unique strengths to carry them, but there's definitely units that have better or an innate bias that allows them to be stronger than their counterparts in more situations than them. In this case, Prefecture Pikeman definitely going to get beaten out by any of the tier 3 generic buckler charge, like charging, like head-to-head charge against Prefecture Pikeman. Like you're pretty much more often than not going to win because you can block. Um, so yeah, that is the PTR. There's nothing left after that. So the two most interesting ones are definitely going to be the Squires and Prefecture Pikeman. Um, I think anyone who uses the Rattan Round Shields and the Rattan Pikemen are going to kind of love this change. It just makes it faster for you to deal damage. Like anything, you deal so little damage with the actual attacks now that the bleed damage does probably 80 to 150% of your damage. Like it's the amount is crazy. Um, I like my Javelin Militia boys, but I don't think this is enough to kind of like see them out in action. Though, as a hero, you better watch out. I've been surprised by them all the time, and they've kicked my ass. Oh, and now that I think about it again, like Iron Cap Swordsmen also have a trait where if they hit the same target multiple times, I think it's like 3 times or something. They deal an extra burst of damage, which ignores armor. So it's really, um, I feel like they made a mistake doing this. It's it's actually kind of concerning that the base is being buffed, but you still have that bonus effect. So, um, maybe it's not going to be that bad. I feel like the base charge is probably not as strong as I think it is, but I don't like getting dazed by it. It's a pain in the neck. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Other than that, my name's Asuka. Have a nice day. Bye for now.